So this relatively complicated looking graphic represents what I perceive to be the basic list of types of days that we often encounter when we're fishing for trout in the heat of the summer. Here we have on the left side of the graph the optimal depth of presentation, with the top being at the top of the chart and closer to the bottom being at the bottom logically, and then time is on the bottom axis, with the starting point being around daybreak, which is normally when we start our fishing day this time of year, and it moves into about the middle of the day, sometime around 1 or 2 o'clock, let's say. So one of the main scenarios here, we start off by catching on top in the morning. That's why I have this black line here with the 1. That's scenario 1. Typically sometime about the middle of the morning, if a day starts off with a good topwater bite, the topwater bite becomes diminished. Normally that happens when the sun comes out and the wind starts blowing a little bit. So 1B here kind of represents what a lot of people do in response to that. They switch over immediately to a soft plastic and start presenting their lure close to the bottom, and by the time you get to the middle of the day they're still doing that and they never change. That becomes the entire scenario for the day. Sometimes, especially when it's calm and you don't have that wind picking up in the middle of the morning, especially if the sun is not really bright, maybe it's a cloudy day or there's lots of puffy passing clouds at least, the topwater bite just continues on. That's what this 1+ line represents, and usually sometime in the middle of the day it starts to real slowly, gradually diminish. But there are plenty of days in the summer where we just catch them on top all day, and it's usually a pretty calm day when that happens and not too bright of a day. A third scenario is what's represented here on line 1A, where it's a calm day, the sun comes out, but it doesn't get particularly window, and that facilitates the use of slow sinking twitch baits. So this 1A shows the optimal depth of presentation just gradually declining and allowing for the use of slow sinking twitch baits for a good portion throughout the middle of the morning, eventually declining down here in some cases where it becomes a soft plastic thing for the rest of the day, and in other cases where after this lull and you catch them on slow sinking twitch baits and maybe even soft plastics for a while, the topwater bite picks up again. That's what this 1A+ represents. Of course, on the worst days, when you start off, particularly in the summertime, when it's windier than you want it to be in the morning, say with a wind speed over 12 or 14 miles an hour, scenario 2 sometimes develops, which means the only way you're going to catch them is on a soft plastic or something else presented low in the water column. And so you start off fishing that way, and the entire day it stays pretty much the same. Usually that day is much more of a struggle, far less satisfying in terms of how many fish you catch, and also in the variety of ways that you're able to catch them, of course.